Hi everyone, Darren from DrayTek Australia and New Zealand, and welcome to Iland Technology's presentation on DrayTek VigorACS 3. This is the 8th part of our webinar series about ACS 3 to help you to successfully install and configure various components of it to allow you to easily manage your customer networks. In today's presentation, we'll look at ACS 3's System Functions menu. Okay, so without further ado, let's get straight into it. First up, the system menu varies depending on the role of the user. Here's an example of what a group administrator can see. That's it, just logs. And here's an example of what a system administrator can see. So the system administrator has a lot more options. Let's take a look at those in a little more detail, starting with the system parameter menu. So we're logged in as a system administrator and we click on System Parameter. That gives us a long list of parameters, 78 in total, with different values that can be altered. You'll find the full system parameter list and descriptions available in the ACS 3 manual from page 164 to page 170, and I'll include a link to the manual in the description below. To see a description and more detail for a parameter, just click on the question mark to the left of each one. For example, if we click on Map Service Provider, we see that we have a choice of Google or Leaflet, which is OpenStreetMap. Okay, we can close that now. If OpenStreetMap is preferred, just select that from the pull-down menu in the Value column and then click Save. Another one here, Parameter ID 81 Packet Capture Tool. Let's see what that's about. So the default value is false, and when the value is set to true, there's a Packet Capture Tool appears on the title bar. Once again, this is only an option available to system administrators within ACS 3. So let's change that to true and click Save. Please wait. Now we get a warning asking us if we want to set up the mail server for mail alerts. We won't worry about that for this example, so we'll exit that. Now we see the packet capture tool on the title bar here, so we click on that and we're prompted to select an interface. We only have one here, so we click on that and we're asked to configure the capture settings. Select a filter example from the drop-down menu. We'll run with TCP, then enable time limit and set a time limit in minutes. Then click on Start Capturing. The Capture Packets tool changes from green to red, indicating it has started capturing packets. We can now either wait for the timer to finish or click on it to stop it manually. Okay, let's stop it and see what happens. And now we see that we can either delete the capture and start a new one, or we can download the one we just made. Click on Download and it downloads a file with a .pcap extension to wherever you have your download set to go to on your web browser, and that can then be opened using Wireshark for analysis. Okay. Another one is Parameter ID 59, which is the CPE periodic inform interval that controls how often the CPE devices will send information to the VigorACS 3 server. The default value 900 stands for 900 seconds or 15 minutes. The setting can also be found in the router under System Maintenance TR069. You can set that to a lower value if you want the information sent more frequently. You might go as low as 30 seconds. However, sending too much information could crash the server, so we recommend only doing that during troubleshooting. Otherwise, stick with the standard 900 seconds. Parameter ID 60 enables force setting the CPE periodic inform interval. The default value is set to true, and that will make all the CPEs change to the value configured in parameter ID 59 in the previous slide. So if we change parameter ID 59 to 50 seconds and set this value to true, ACS 3 will force all the CPEs to change their periodic inform intervals from 900 seconds to 50. Next, language. VigorACS 3 can be displayed and operated in different languages. Users can then choose their preferred language from the top right of the login page. EN stands for English and is chosen by default. To add other languages, first select that option from the System menu. That'll bring up this page where other languages can be added into the system. To do that, download the language.txt file, for example, lang_en.txt as a template file, then translate it into the other language and save it with an appropriate name such as lang_tw.txt and upload the file to the ACS 3 server. When you open that file, you'll see two parts for each statement separated by an equal sign. Now you only want to modify the part after the equal sign, not the part before it. In this example here, we want to add responses in traditional Chinese, so you see that we've only edited the parts after the equal sign. The text in front of the equal sign stays in English. Once you're done, save the file as lang_tw.txt. Then go back to the Languages menu in ACS3, click on Upload, browse to wherever you have your new language file saved, and then click the Upload button. Next, the external monitoring server. This provides health information for CPE devices and wireless client information, which can be transferred to an external third-party server periodically. To gather CPE health information, first enable the server, enter the URL or IP address of the external server, enter the username and password for accessing the external server, specify the required API using the drop-down menu, then click Save. For wireless client information, first specify a user group from the drop-down menu, slide the switch to the right to enable the server, enter a string for authentication, enter the URL or IP address of the external server, select the required API from the drop-down menu, then click Save. The next menu item is access control. VigorACS 3 can restrict or allow access by adding client IP addresses into a blacklist or whitelist. The table here outlines what each of those options means in a little more detail. There's also a none option if you don't want limitations for any CPE clients. For example, let's create a blacklist to block Sam's laptop, which has an IP address of 192.168.20.10 for WUI login. After clicking on Add, enter the description Sam's laptop, choose the address type. In this case, we're blocking a single IP address, so we select that. Then enter the IP address and select the service to block. Then click Save, and done. Next in the menu we have Clear Logs. It's recommended to do that regularly to avoid overloading the capacity of the ACS server. To do that, first select how much of the log you want to delete. All will delete everything, before 1 month means everything older than a month, and so on. After that, select which type of logs to delete, which can be log, alarm, and device log. You can set this up to do it automatically for you by enabling the auto clear feature, and that can be set to every day or weekly or monthly. In this example, we're going to delete the logs every 2 weeks on a Sunday. Then click Save to complete. You can also simply click on Delete Now to clear logs manually. A pop-up message will appear for a confirmation. Then just click Clear Now to clear the logs. Upload serial number. So this one allows a system administrator to upload the serial number of a CPE device for monitoring. First, you'll need to download the template, then enter the serial number and the MAC address of the CPE. Next, click Upload. Select the serial number file and click Apply. ACS3 will compare the MAC address with the devices already registered in the system. If there's a match, it'll automatically fill in the device name, network, model, WAN IP, LAN IP, and firmware version. The Google API key menu allows you to enter the Google Maps API key and Google Analytics API key. After you get either or both of those API keys, you can enter them here. Then once you click on Save, it'll activate the Google Maps and Analytics functions within ACS3. Once Maps is activated, you should see something like this on the dashboard with the network icons appearing over the locations, and you'll be able to zoom in and out. The certificate menu can generate a CSR, certificate signing request file, for certificate signing, and import a HTTPS certificate file from a third-party certificate authority. HTTPS is an internet communication protocol which is more secure than the normal HTTP protocol because it encrypts the data on both ends to secure the connection. ACS3 supports a normal certificate, a certificate with a private key, PKSC #12, and also Let's Encrypt certification in version 3.3.0. Up the top, you'll see 4 tabs with different options. The first one, Certificate, has 2 parts. First, click Generate a CSR, then enter the common name, organisation unit, locality, state or province, and country. Then click Save. The certificate rec.csr file will start to download automatically. Submit this file to the certificate authority and you'll receive the root CA certificate, the intermediate CA certificate, and the trusted certificate to complete step 2. In step 2, import each of those certificates, then click Save. The next tab is Certificate with Private Key. This allows uploading a certificate from a third-party certificate authority. There's 4 options to get the certificate form, including with root and intermediate certificates, with CA bundle, one PEM file, and none of the above. Some third-party certificate authorities don't require submitting a CSR file to generate a private key and sign a certificate, for example SSL for Free and Komodo. Here's an example of the files issued by Komodo. There's 5 files in total, including 1 root CA certificate, 2 intermediate CA certificates, 1 trusted certificate, and 1 private key. These files can be imported to ACS3 using the with root and intermediate certificates option. And here we have an example of the files issued by SSL for Free. There's 3 files in total, including 1 CA bundle, 1 trusted certificate, and 1 private key. These can be imported into ACS3 using the with CA bundle option. Here's an example of the content of a PEM file. The content should have at least 1 group containing a private key and certificate, or 1 private key with multiple certificates. The PKCS #12 tab is used for importing one of those and applying it to the VigorACS server with a specified password. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Simply import the PKCS #12 file and the password, then click Save. The Let's Encrypt tab allows, you guessed it, uploading certificates from Let's Encrypt. ACS3 will support Let's Encrypt from version 3.3.0 and the manual should be updated with more details for it soon. Next we have the Backup Database menu. This allows creating a backup task to back up the database according to the selected task profile. The backup file will be stored on the ACS3 hard drive. To create a backup task, click on Add a Task, slide the switch to enable it, then create a task name. Then set up the schedule to run the backup once or periodically. Under the backup options, you can select Backup All Tables or exclude syslog tables or exclude syslog and log tables or just backup the InfluxDB. Ignore license tables is enabled by default. When it is enabled, ACS3 will not back up the license tables to prevent a license error when transferring the ACS3 server. Enabling the Compress Backup File option means the backup file will be compressed. There's also an option to delete the log tables after the backup's completed. There's 3 implement stages: not implemented yet, running, and completed. Once the backup task is completed, the backup file can be found under the Backup Files tab. The file can be downloaded from ACS3 or deleted permanently. Any error messages and failed tasks during the backup will be displayed under the Error Logs tab. Login Bulletin. This section allows an administrator to put important messages on the ACS3 login page. In the Preview tab, you'll be able to see the messages that will be displayed on the left-hand side. In the General Settings tab, the Login Bulletin is disabled by default. Slide the switch to the right to enable it. Multiple messages can be displayed as a carousel animation or listed one by one. In the example here, we selected carousel style. With this option, the user will see small arrows below the messages to indicate there's more. The messages can also appear using a slide or fade effect, and the speed that the messages are cycled can be adjusted from 1000 to 60,000 milliseconds. Shuffle message means that the messages will appear in a random order. To add a message, go to the Bulletin Items tab and simply click on Add a Message. That will bring up these options to create the message, including all the usual font options you might find in a text editor. The message can also include photos, hyperlinks, and videos. A preview of the message will be displayed on the right-hand side. And here's an example of what the login page can look like. The Adverts Carousel menu allows an administrator to upload images to the ACS3 server for advertising or just to add something interesting. Simply click on the grey area to start uploading the images, or click on plus add an advert item in the Advert Item Settings tab below that. Then just browse to the folder where you have an image stored and then click Upload. There's also options to add a title and message, add a hyperlink, and change the position of the text block. After that, click Save to save the settings. In this example here, we added 2 banners which will display at the top of the login page as a rotating banner. If you don't like something, you can always go back to modify or delete it. After that, go to the General Settings tab, enable Show on Login Page to display the banner, and click Save to save the settings. And here's an example of what the login page will look like now with the banners added. Next, we come to the Logs menu item. This displays the ACS system log, login log, and access control log. In this example, we can see that the root user changed the Sydney network location using the web user interface from IP address 192.168.100.42 on the 6th of September at 12:04 PM. This information shows what changes have been made, making it easier to troubleshoot when there's an unexpected event, for example an unauthorized login attempt. In this example, we can see 2 failed login attempts by the root user on August 29th at 1:35 PM. The log can also be exported into an Excel file by clicking on Export All. The XMPP Profile menu displays the current status of the XMPP server. Enable it by sliding the toggle to the right, then enter the IP address, server port, the default is 5222, and username and password of the XMPP server. Then click Save to save the settings. The Delete Log Actions menu displays a record of all deleted logs. These will be stored permanently here until deleted. This page can only be accessed by a root user and users assigned as auditors. Categories can be filtered by ACS users, Vigor devices, and network clients. The Server Support Settings menu is used to configure the terms of use and privacy policy on the login page. The support service type can be either an email address or a website URL and will appear in the account activation notification. The content of the email can be shown in either HTML or plain text. The terms of use and the privacy policy can also be added, then click Save to save the settings. And that's it for the System menu. That included System Parameter, Language, External Monitoring Server, Access Control, Clear Logs, Upload Serial Number, Google API Key, Certificate, Backup Database, Login Bulletin, Adverts Carousel, Logs, XMPP Profile, Delete Logs Actions, and Server Support Settings. Okay, that's all for now, but please stay tuned. We'll be answering questions in the live chat on the right of your screen for the next 5 minutes. For more information about DrayTek products, please check out our website at www.draytek.com.au or send us an email to sales@draytek.com.au or give us a call on 02 9838 8899. Don't forget to like and subscribe below, and if you'd like a notification anytime we put up a new video, please give the bell a click too. Thanks and bye for now.